Mit navn er Kim Fritz. Jeg sidder her sammen med Don Powell, og vi skal, og vi skal lave et interview omkring Slade. Vi skal lave det ud fra Don Powells perspektiv. Herfra der slår jeg over i engelsk. So, hello Don.
Hi Kim, how are you? Okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I'm very
good.
I'm
Well,
very
thanks
okay.
for coming round. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, so have I.
Yeah.
As well. So, we're going to start on your childhood.
Okay.
You were growing up near Wolverhampton, outside Wolverhampton, and every time I've seen something from any one of you guys, you're always referring to it as the Black Country.
Yes.
Yes. How come it's called the Black Country?
Because around Birmingham, which is my home growing up area, there's a lot of steel factories.
Yes.
You know, like foundries, and
Yes.
you know, just like it's majority factories there, and there's always a lot of black smoke.
Yes.
Coming from the chimneys from these factories, and that's why it got the nickname the Black Country.
Yes.
Yeah, because of basically the black smoke coming from the chimneys.
All the chimneys.
Yeah.
So everybody were in black.
And, well, I mean, half the time you couldn't see because it was foggy. You know?
Just like London in the 18th century.
Yeah, but I mean, it was something that we were used to. We didn't know any different.
No, of course not.
You know, until we sort of, if you travel just a few kilometres outside of my hometown, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we do have a son. But it's just the way it was, and it was just a term. I've grown up with that term, the Black Country. I mean, even people on TV, interviewers, you know, they talk about the Black Country.
Yes.
And you know, it's just a common sort of phrase.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when you were growing up, both your mom and dad were working.
Yes.
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 How must have been a bit different, wasn't it? Or was it normal that both parents worked out?
I think. Well, what I remember, it was quite normal because one of my friends, both their parents worked as well. I mean, I think the economy situation was not that good in England, and I think a lot in the majority of cases, both parents needed to work
to get through the day.
To finance everything, if you like. I mean, my father worked very hard. He worked in the steel works, and he was there like 6 in the morning till 6 at night, you know, sort of thing. And then he had to walk home, or he had to walk to work because the buses didn't start that early then. Oh. He didn't have a car then. And my mother worked in another factory, just making or helping make electrical components.
Yes.
And those Friday night was they would. But it was like payday, and they would pool their money together, and Mum would need some for the rent of the house, and then for the shopping, and Dad would keep a little bit. He'd have his pocket money, if you like, so I could go to the pub and have his glass of beer.
Yes,
you know. But I'll tell you what was incredible. Really, I was talking to many people about this. Is that they always saved every year so they could take us away on holiday.
Oh.
You know, and holidays then wasn't flying abroad anywhere.
Oh, no.
It was in England,
yes,
you know, by the coast. You know, either North Wales or down the south coast, Devon and Cornwall. And I was later on, when I began to realise, I was always so thankful for my parents. They saved hard, you know, throughout the year to take myself, my brother, and 2 sisters away on holidays.
Yes. But how long were the holidays for?
Sorry?
How long? It was for a week?
It was always 2 weeks. Working class people have 2 weeks a year holiday in the summer, and that's it used to be the last week in July and the first week in August. And that's when we would go away to either to the south coast, to the seaside resort, or to North Wales.
Yes.
That was before my father was driving, so we would either go on the train or the coach to those particular places.
Yes,
you know.
Yes. So then you were growing up, and then you started playing drums.
Yes.
Didn't you?
Yes.
And how did you get started playing drums?
Boy Scouts, would you believe? Yeah, but I mean, it's strange. I mean, I was in the Boy Scouts troop in my local town, Bilston, from when I was 11 years old, and then I was always like cleaning drums, you know, just sort of one of the things that that the youngsters had to do, the newcomers had to do, clean drums. But to play drums, then you had to play the bugle first. And I couldn't get a sound out of that. I was
it's hard, isn't it?
nothing. I used to stand at the back and just blow my cheeks out, you know, sort of pretend I was playing. And I got found out, of course, you know.
Yes.
And then I think it was maybe one of the guys. One of the drummers didn't turn up 1 week or whatever it was, and I was allowed to try, and that was it. That was me. That was me hooked then.
Yes.
And it was just a revelation to me, and I was so keen. My very first pair of drumsticks, which I wish I still had, I made myself out of an artificial Christmas tree stem.
Yes.
You know, we couldn't afford a real Christmas tree then. We used to have an artificial one. After when Christmas was finished, Mum would put it away in the cupboard for the ready for the next year.
Yes.
And I think I only ever knew this one old artificial Christmas tree. Mum was going to get a new one year, and I thought I can take the stem and make some drumsticks.
Oh yes, of course.
And it took me. It must have taken me months, you know. I was just copying, shaving with a Boy Scout's knife or something like that, and I varnished them and everything, but not knowing about wood that make the drumstick. The first time I used them, they broke. And I was so heartbroken. I spent months making these things.
But when did you get your first drum kit?
Oh, that was from a school friend actually, a guy named David Bowdley. We were in the same class at school, and I don't know how he came about. He had this drum kit, and I had no money then, and I didn't like to ask my parents to pay for anything, because I wasn't sure whether I was going to how serious I was going to take it, whether I was going to carry on with it, you know. So, but my friend, he lent me his drums. Sorry,
yes. It's okay.
He lent me his drums, and he never got them back. And I don't know what happened to them actually, but that's when I learned to do that, and also in the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
You know, so I was learning like that really, and I had a few friends from the youth club, as it was in those days.
Yes.
Who were like, had a little band. There was not just 3 members, and I used to go and watch them. Like they used to rehearse every week, and there's another band from my hometown called the Ramrods, who I've just made contact with again. Oh. They were much older than me, and obviously they don't play anymore. But we've made contact through the internet and other things, and it's fantastic. And I keep reminding them about places I used to go and watch them play, you know, sort of thing. It was only like bars or the local town hall or something like that in those days. But it was a revelation to me, all this. And anyway, these 2 guys, I was a member of this youth club, and these 2 guys, Johnny Howells and Mickey Marson, came down to the youth club one sort of Wednesday and asked me about if I would join them to play drums. Yes. You know, they asked, well, how do you know I was interested in drums? And it was a school friend of mine that, I don't know how the connection came with them, but he told them that I played drums, and he told them I was a member of this youth club, and they came down, and I said, well, I don't have any drums, which I didn't then, and like I said, that's when my school friend, David, he lent me his drums. Yes. He never got them back. He never got them back. But that was it. I mean, sort of, it was like a whole new world to me then. These 2 guys, Johnny and Mick, were a few years older than me, so they were listening to records that I never knew about, like sort of Little Richard, Eddie Cochran, and Buddy Holly, things like that.
But where did they get the records from?
Well, they was, like I said, they was a few years old, so they used to buy them. They were buying records, and then they had like the record player that could play them. I never heard this stuff before, like I was used to hearing just sort of there's some artists called Billy Fury or Joe Brown and people like that at that time.
Billy Fury, I love Billy Fury.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic records. Yeah, I met him a few times as well. It's always the same when you meet these guys. They're so, when you know everything about them, and they're whoa, you know.
I know that. I'm sitting here with the same feeling.
Yeah, but But it was great. It was revelation to me. But it was like I was about to say, like Johnny, is only him and his father. Yes. And they had this big house, and downstairs was a big area like this here now, and they had a downstairs bathroom, and I used to sit in there with my drums in the bathroom, and they'd be out in the main part. And Mick would have an amplifier, and Johnny with the microphone, and we used to shout to each other what we were going to play, you know, and we used to do like that.
Could you record it?
No, we didn't know anything about that then, you know. So none of us had a tape recorder anyway, because that's what it was in those days, a tape recorder. But it was just like it was like a revelation to me. I thought, wow, this is incredible. And we were playing like U Club dances and things like that. That's what it was then. And then I remember we were in Johnny's house the one time, about to start rehearsals, and he came in and he said, we can play at the local town hall.
Yes. How did you get the gigs? How did you get?
Either on the bus or in those days in England there used to be a small area underneath the stairs. Yes, where you could put suitcases.
Yes.
And that's where we put the equipment. Then it's only a small set of drums and just one amplifier. We used to sit with the guitars on with them on the chair. So that everything went under those carriage like that. And I mean, that happened then. You didn't have to pay any extra for the things that, you know. But and I remember the local town hall from where Johnny lived was literally 100 metres round the corner.
Yes.
And then Johnny came back to one day, he said, I've got us the booking at the town hall and we're getting paid. I thought,
getting paid?
We get paid for this? We get paid? He said, yeah, we're getting, I think it was £6, which is like in those days about 50 kroner, I suppose, in today's money, you know, sort of thing. We get paid? Oh, that's incredible. And I remember we carried our equipment round to the town, because it was only, like I said, 100 metres round the corner, and it was just like a total revelation. I mean, I think there was only about 6 people in the audience, you know, but
can you remember what you were playing?
Yeah, I mean, there's things like Peggy Sue by Buddy Holly, Think It Over by Buddy Holly. That was the very first record I ever learned to play drums to, was Think It Over. Yeah. And was Please Don't Touch, I think that was by Gene Vincent, and it was all things like that, and Spanish Harlem by the Benny King.
Benny King, yes.
Yeah,
and
things like that. And it was just a revelation. I said there's only about 6 people here, but it was a new world for me. Like somebody had opened the doors.
What were you dreaming of? What were you dreaming about when you realized that you can actually make money out of this? And,
what we wanted to do was, which you don't know anything about the business, obviously, in those days, and we wanted to make a record. How do we make a record? You know, and I don't know how we make a record. And then a local band called Danny Cannon and the Ramrods, they made a record, like a demo record, and it was a tiny studio just on the outskirts of our hometown. And then we found out, I think we had to pay £12 to this guy he was above a shop, just a room above a shop. Yeah. And then we recorded, we went down and recorded Twilight Time by the Platters, Take Your Time by the Bully Holly and the Crickets, you know. So I think we wrote a song. Actually, it was our first song we wrote together called "Don't Leave Me Now," and I have a copy somewhere, but it was just like a revelation to us, you know. So we made a record, you know. So you can put on the record player. So, that's us, you know. So I mean, it was never released. It was just like a demo record that we had. I think we had about 6 made, and I don't know what happened to them all. I managed to get one. I'll explain how that came about. Was we used to be members of this youth club where Johnny and Mick came to see me, and one of the girls there, she had a copy, and she made contact with me about a year ago, a girl named Sandra. And we said, blah, we were just talking about, reminding me about the youth club days. Yes. I've got a copy of that record. I thought, what? And she said, I think you should have it, you know, and just sent it to me. And, but No, it's great. I mean, wonderful memories. I mean, you're obviously so naive about the business. You know, you think, oh, this is going to make us famous, or this is going to make us millionaires, or something like that. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing, like the naivety of things like that in those days. But it was just fantastic. I mean, we were sort of, then we were sort of. Get bookings, or sort of maybe just a few miles from where we lived, sort of thing. And,
But how did you and Dave Hill get in contact?
Well, what it was, we had this. There was myself, Johnny, and Mick. Had this guy, a guy named I don't know his real name, but they call him Chalky White. He wanted to manage us and get us bookings, get us gigs and things like that. So anyway, he did that. We were doing places like in working men's clubs or pubs. That's all there was in those days, and things like that. And he said to us, I think you need another guitarist, and I said, well, we don't know anybody. We've only been used to the three of us playing. We don't know anybody else. He said, I know this young kid. He said he's playing with this band, like a show band, as they were called in those days. He said, and he's must be half the age of all the other guys in the thing. He said, I'll ask him. Maybe he might be interested, And it was arranged that we had a rehearsal on this Sunday afternoon, and he brought Dave Hill to the rehearsal.
Yes.
And that's how we met, really. And he seemed a lot more advanced. With playing guitar than Mick or Johnny, anything like that, and he was great, and he knew a lot more.
So he became the lead guitarist.
Yes. Dave became the lead guitarist, and it was like another step up the ladder, if you like.
Yes.
And it was good, and we started to get gigs, as they were called, and further and further out, and we thought, well, with the equipment we had then, now. How are we going to transport it? And it happened as a guy who worked at the factory where Dave Hill worked at the time, and he actually lived around the corner from where I lived with my parents, and a guy named Mark, and he had this van, and we just went to ask him, how do you feel about driving us to the show, the gigs then at the time, and then he asked for £2 a night, which is like 20 kroner a night, something like that. So that's good, because we were getting about between £5 and £6 a night, something like that. So having somebody drive, at least we meant we could travel a bit further out. To places.
How long did you play for in those days?
Oh, probably about 45 minutes.
What a set is like nowadays?
Sorry?
It's what a set is now.
Yeah, I mean, but then we started playing, we started learning more and more songs. So like people were asking us to play maybe 2 1-hour sessions or 2 45-minute sessions. I mean, we were repeating a lot of the songs, obviously, we didn't have enough, sort of thing.
And the songs were very short.
They were just normal, two less than 3 minutes in those days, the songs we were learning. And I mean, it was a different world. I mean,
But you were still attending school at that point?
I was still at college, and then I started working, basically to help pay for some drums.
Yes.
Because in those days you had to pay on installments every month.
Yes.
But because I wasn't 18, I had to get my parents to sign for us. But I remember I wondered if Dad will do it, and I asked my father, I said, I need to get by these drums, He knew I was really interested in what I was doing. And I said, well, I need you to sign the papers as a guarantor sort of thing. He said, I'll sign them. He said, you better pay for them. I'm not paying for them, because he would be liable, sort of thing. But I remember it was like it was almost like when someone buys a brand new car. They've got these drums, from the local shop.
Were they brand new?
Brand new drums, Premier drums. I remember them. And it was like, wow, this is incredible. And I remember at the time I was paying £12 a month, and the repayments. I think they cost me. Was it £140, something like that? Sort of thing. But it was just like a different world,
Yes, but the working man wasn't make that.
No, my father wasn't earning so much money then, but and like I had like newspaper rounds. I used to deliver newspapers,
me as well,
or deliver groceries. You know, to take groceries on the bicycle.
That was a way to make money for young.
Yes, that's what helped pay for my pay for my drums.
Yes,
you know, but that's what it was then. That's what you did. You know, that was the only way we knew.
Yes,
you know, the same with the guys with guitars and amplifiers. You know,
then you made some records with windows and in betweens.
Yeah.
Yes, and you had a #1 hit in Wolverhampton.
Yes, that was You Better Run.
Yes.
But that was with Noddy Holder and Jim Lee though.
Oh yes, they were back. Oh, then we will jump a bit back.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that was
how did you meet up with those guys? And
well, what happened? No, what happened was we were like there's 5 in the band. Then there's Johnny, Mick, myself, Dave, and another guy named Dave on bass guitar. Yes. And Dave, Phil, and myself could see that Johnny and Mick, they weren't so much interested anymore in the band. I mean, Dave and myself really wanted to go further and do this, you know, and then we found then there's another local group at the time called Steve Brett and the Mavericks, of which Noddy Holder was the guitarist.
Yes, some amazing names, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, great, and but then our bass player Dave decided to leave, and we auditioned for the bass player, Dave and myself. And within view of making a new group, we wanted to just make a 4-piece group like the Beatles, which was a 4-man group.
Yes.
And then we auditioned for Jim Lee, for the bass player, which Jim Lee came along. He was only 15 at the time.
He's a bit younger.
Yeah, he was still at school, I think, or he just left school. And you know, we decided we wanted him, but we explained to him what we wanted to do, and then. Dave and myself just happened to be in our hometown, well, in Wolverhampton at the time, yes. and we bumped into Noddy Holder.
Oh.
And we said, let's go and have a coffee. We knew we played with this group, local group, Steve Brett and the Mavericks, you know, so we had a coffee, and we explained to Nod what we wanted to do. And as it happened, Nod said, well, the group that I'm in with Steve Brett is breaking up.
Oh.
And we said, how do you fancy trying, you know, sort of, and what we did, it was a rehearsal at a pub near where Nod lived with his parents. And there was like Dave, myself, Jim Lee and Noddy Holder, and we just went in and we just played a couple of songs that we all knew.
Yes. You
know, and it just worked straight away. It was fantastic. We all started laughing. You know, it worked straight away. It worked.
Yes.
You know, and.
What music? What music?
It was things like, well, then I remember the very first song we played together was "Mr. Pitiful" by Otis Redding.
Yes.
Would you believe? And then we played a few like Chuck Berry things, sort of rock and you know, sort of sweet little rock and roller and sort of Roll Over Beethoven, things, the obvious ones, you know, things like that. And it just worked straight away with not singing. 'Cause he wasn't singing so high then as he became, but he still had a voice. I always say he always sounded like John Lennon.
Yes.
You know, and he just worked straight away. But we were this local agent in Wolverhampton, and they didn't particularly like us.
No?
Yeah, they didn't, but they could see that they could make money out of us, so we were playing youth clubs, pubs, and you know, things like that, you know, and they could make their 10% out of us, so they put up with us, you know. We weren't their most favourite band, you know. But people, we were starting to draw some decent crowds.
Yes.
You know, people, you know, sort of only, like I said, only playing pubs and clubs, but we were like filling them. You know, we were selling them out, if you like, and things like that.
You've always been a good live band.
And it was great for us, and so they kept us, you know, and yeah, I mean.
So did you write? Were you starting writing your own
No,
songs?
no, we weren't writing them. It was just cover things. Mainly, would you believe, we started doing then was Tamla Motown covers.
Oh.
You know, would you believe? And because like Dave and Jim started doing backing vocals, you know, we used to do things like the Four Tops and Temptations and people like that, and also we started doing things by Otis Redding.
Yes.
And so because a lot of the local groups around Wolverhampton were playing top 20 material. They were playing like cover versions of the top 20 because that's what the venues as they were then, you know, the pubs, that's what they wanted. They wanted bands to play, but we didn't play that.
No, I didn't realize that. I knew it was like that with the show bands in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes, but I didn't realize it was like that in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
Or in England as well.
Because the venues of seven events, like the pubs and clubs, that's what the people wanted to hear.
Yes,
the top 20 things, you know. But we didn't do that, you know. We went straight to Tamla Motown, but we had a great following locally.
Yes.
And so we knew, you know, they knew that we would draw a lot of people, so they booked us. They didn't particularly like us, you know, but they knew that we would get a lot of people in.
But you were delivering the shows.
Yes.
Yes.
And a lot of people, you know, used to come to the shows. You know, we had quite a big following locally.
Yes.
And and it was working for us, and then we I don't know, all the other we were always the last in line of the bands to do anything.
How many bands were booked for one night?
Sorry, about what? Sorry.
How many bands were booked for one night? Did they book? They booked you, but did they book any other bands as well
to play the same venue? You mean? There's always maybe just two bands, but I mean. There was always the same places that we played, and they would always book the other bands first. They would give them priority because they were playing top 20 material. Yes. I mean, the venues, or they were then, like the pubs and clubs and things, they didn't particularly like us.
Oh,
but we drew the people. So they had to book us. You know, they booked us. They didn't particularly like us, but I remember we were playing this one working men's club, as it was in those days, and they hated us. You know, they really hated us, and they stopped us. I think we only played about 3 songs, I think, and they said, "No, we don't want you to play anymore, and you have to pack your gear and go." And then the guy got on the stage. It was just people sitting there drinking their beers, and we were carrying our equipment out. No roadies then. Carrying our equipment out, and the guy was saying they will never ever appear here again. You know, we don't want them. They will never be here again. So the best group we ever had here was Steve Brett and the Mavericks, and that was the group that Nod left to join us. we always laugh about that, you know. But we had that a lot, you know, where people, because we weren't playing top 20 songs, you know, but we were drawing the crowd. That's why they booked us.
So you were making a record which went to #1 in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, that was how that came about. Kim, was like we did this place, a club in London called Tiles. They used to be open 7 nights a week, but on Saturday nights it was like an all-nighter. I don't know how we got booked there, but we got booked there. But the youth club we were in then, because it was like a revelation, they're going to play in London. Yes. So they got a coach party up, all kids, all the youth club members to come down to watch us in London. Yes. And we played this club, and there was all these kids in the audience shouting for us and things like that. We were totally unknown. And going, who was this lot? Who was this? And happened to be in the audience was Kim Fowley.
Yes.
Yeah, the American, you know, who actually produced The Runaways many years later. Yeah. And he saw us, and he could see. He told us later, I could see there was something here. You know, he didn't know that these people were from Wolverhampton. Crowd, you know. And he came, anyway, he made contact with us, and through the agency that we were with, and he said he would like to produce a record for us.
Yes. And
anyway, it was all, you know, sort of made like that, and we sort of, we went down to London and met him. There's this tiny studio
in the studio in London.
Yeah,
yes,
in London, in Denmark Street. There's a studio called Olympic Studios. Not, sorry, I beg your pardon. Regent Sound.
Yes.
And apparently that's where the Stones did a lot of their very early recording. It's only a tiny room, almost like a demo studio, really. And he took us in there, and we didn't write. Well, we weren't writing our own stuff then, and we recorded just a few stage songs. And one of them was "You Better Run," that we had by the Young Rascals.
Yes.
And we'd made up a few things in the studio. But Kim was such an outward going guy. We had no money then, and he would say, "Come on, I'll go out and we'll buy you a sandwich. We'll have a sandwich and a cup of tea." And then he'd stop people in the street and he'd say, "Look at these guys, they're going to be famous," you know. And we were really embarrassed by this, you know, like this. And then he said, "I'll have to go into the bank to get some money. Just come in with me." And then he'd go into the bank and say, he was like really so sort of extravagant. He said, he said to me, "Watch these guys, they're going to be famous." You know, we were like,
you were hiding.
We never met anybody like this before, you know, but
the record, which went to #1 in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
Yes. Did it make you any further gigs?
Yes, it did actually, because he was signed with an agency in London, and then in turn that they gave us some work. Not so many really. It just got a bit because Kim left and went back to America, so they weren't particularly bothered with us anymore. No. You know, and they got us a few things, and it was like double the money than what we were getting used to in Wolverhampton, which is incredible.
Then you were getting £10 a week.
Sorry?
Then you were getting 10
that kind of week,
yes,
yeah, yes. That kind of thing. But it was great, and sort of and because the record it had lots of plays. There's a station called Radio Luxembourg in those years in London, like we're talking about, and it had lots of plays on there. And that was it really. I mean, sort of after that, when Kim went back to America, that was it. And when that record basically finished, that was it.
Then it was.
Yeah, that was it.
You were back to Wolverhampton.
Yeah, back to sort of doing the things that we'd always been doing, you know, sort of thing. I mean, that was 1966. That was when that came out, and we were just playing, you know, all you know, playing where we used to play, just pubs and clubs and youth clubs.
Now you have access to a van.
Yeah.
You go around the countryside.
Yes,
and driving up and down the country.
Yes, everywhere. I mean, we always used to go to Scotland at least one weekend a month because we always got cash in Scotland.
Yes.
And we always got paid more money in Scotland for some reason, and it means we could pay for our equipment.
Yes.
Because we were still paying for our equipment on instalments. Yes. You know, so it was great because it meant we could pay for our equipment.
But did it make you enough money to stay out of work?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, not much, but we didn't need much then. I mean, it didn't. I mean, none of us smoked or drank or anything like that then. You know, nothing like that. So, but we were making a living. We were okay, you know, because we didn't need to get a job, and we were doing these things.
So you just keep on playing.
Yeah, that's what we did. And then this was in 1968. The agency in Wolverhampton sent for us, and. He said, "This is strange." He says, "You've been offered a gig in the Bahamas."
In the Bahamas?
Yeah, I know. And we go, "Where's that?
Yes.
Where's the Bahamas?" You know. And we said, "Well, how's this came about?" He said, "Well, this youth club you've been playing, one of the guys who always used to see you there." His sister had moved to the Bahamas and married a Bahamian guy, and he was out there living as well. And he found out this situation with his club there, and he said about what you need is like an English band to try and sort of, you know, draw a crowd. Yes. A bit like the Beatles going to Hamburg and things like that, you know. And and apparently the deal was they would fly you out there, you know, pay for your ticket to fly you out. The equipment was only tiny equipment then. That would go excess baggage, you know, that kind of thing. And the thing was to play this club for 8 weeks.
For 8 weeks?
8 weeks and $100 a week each, which was a lot of money then.
Yes.
Wow! But just to go to the Bahamas anyway.
Yes, just 8 weeks.
8 weeks in the Bahamas. You know. So anyway, sort of that was it. And we thought, this is incredible. I always remember it was. It was just towards the end of May 1968 this was.
Yes.
And I remember we'd never been on a plane before.
No.
And we played. We flew out on, I think it was on a Sunday. On the Saturday night, we played just at one of the pub gigs in Wolverhampton, and then a friend of ours, with our van, he drove us down overnight to Heathrow Airport. And with our equipment, and of course, like we never, this is a new world for us, airports, and we had to find out, well, listen, we're going here, what do we do? Well, go to that, that terminal there, and blah, 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 and sort it out. We didn't know, we had to go to the desk, and we said, well, we're going to Nassau in the Bahamas. Oh yes, okay, where's the ticket, and and what luggage? And we said, yeah, this and this and this and this, and okay, that's all sorted out, and there's your boarding cards, so then what's that? Well, now what do we do? Well, you have to go through, through the passport control and things like that, and this is incredible. I remember we were all dressed up. I remember I had collar and tie on, we were going to the Bahamas, right? Collar and tie. And I remember we stopped in Bermuda to refuel. And I remember sort of walked off, and I ran back on the plane. I thought it was the heat from the engines, but it was just the heat, the natural heat in Bermuda. This is only Bermuda. And we had a 3-hour stop there, and we just couldn't believe it. We just like looking around to see like all this paradise, in Bermuda. I thought, well, where do we go from here? And then we had another 5-hour flight, wherever it was, down to Nassau. And it was just like, we couldn't believe it. We sort of got off, and the guy who took us out there was waiting for us in Nassau. And he said, no, we have another flight to, the island was called Grand Bahama Island. He said, it's about 30-40 minutes flight, And I mean, we couldn't believe it, what we were seeing, like, no clouds in the sky, just, just the Black Country, right? Black country. Like a fog, but we, and of course all that, the ties were coming off, the jackets were coming off, and anyway, we flew. I remember there's only like an inter-island flight, it was about 30 or 40 minutes, and of course the plane's only a tiny plane, but they were flying pretty low, and we were looking down to this blue ocean. We could see like sharks and like manta rays, sort of like. I thought, what's this? Anyway, we get to the.
It must have been amazing.
It was like we're on a different planet.
Yes.
To see all this, we're on a different planet. Anyway, sort of we get there, and I remember the guy, Kenny's name, and he got 2 taxis for us from the airport to drive us to the hotel. We'd never been in a hotel before. No. Didn't know what nothing at all about a hotel, and then we got to this Sheraton hotel. This is like. Whoa. This opulence, this place, we got in, and of course all the porters were there taking our cases, thought, oh, this is pretty good, this is pretty good, we didn't know you had to tip them. No. but Kenny was doing all that, and we checked in, and we had 2 twin rooms, and there were adjoining rooms. Jim Lee and myself shared the one room, and Dave Hill and Noddy Holder shared the other room. I mean, the adjoining door was open constantly. It was just open all the time. But it was like big open windows like that out into this lagoon. And outside there was Frank Sinatra's yacht there, there, and Sean Connery, because he still lives there actually. Sean Connery's yacht there, and we were just like. It was just like, 4 kids looking around with the palm trees and, the blue skies, no clouds, looking around. Anyway, the guy said, I'm going home now, I'll have a clean up. He said, we'll go out for dinner tonight. He says, I'll pick you up whatever time. He says, anything you need, just call room service, and we said, what's room service? We hadn't got a clue, what's room service, so, I mean, the thing was also, we had a bed each. I mean, always before, when we had to share like tiny guest house, it was all the 4 of us in one bed, and this was, we had like a bed each. Wow, a bed each.
You can actually turn when you're sleeping.
I mean, incredible. Anyway, sort of, we couldn't believe it, we got ready, and it was dark when Ken came for us, and we never seen. There was like the electrical storms. We were like watching this because we were waiting for the thunder and the rain, and there was just electrical storms. Well, where's the thunder? And Ken was laughing. He said, "There's no thunder. This is electrical storms." What? Anyway, we go out, and it was just we couldn't believe. That's right. We couldn't believe that it was as hot at night as it was during the day. And it was just a different world, and I don't think really.
But when you were finished on the Bahamas, yes, how did you guys get in contact with Chas Chandler? I mean, you were not a nobody, but you didn't call that. Well, he was the manager of Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, and he did play bass in Animals.
Yeah, he's the guy who discovered Jimi Hendrix. Anyway, how that came about, Kim, was like we had this recording audition after us, you know, with a company called Fontana Records. That had a little bit of success with certain acts, you know, and we were at they wanted to come down. They'd heard about us. We were offered this recording audition in the studio, and the head of the company, Jack Baverstock, he really liked us.
Yes.
He said, I would like you to make an album. What?
An album?
An album. And and the engineer, a guy named Roger Wake, you know, he was great. And we said, I'll give you a week in the studio. You know,
a week? That's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we heard about this later. That's unheard of for an unknown band.
Yes.
Anyway, we didn't write our own songs then, so basically our very first album on Fontana was our stage show.
Yes.
That's what we did, you know. Yes. But Roger Wake, the engineer, was fantastic. He was teaching us all. He taught us a lot about recording and different things, a different style of playing and things like that. Because you know, you had to be a lot more disciplined in the studio, obviously. Anyway, sort of, you know, he really liked it. But he said, but because we were being looked after by this tiny agency in Wolverhampton, where the owner was a policeman, and his wife basically ran the agency. And he said, you really need London management. Yes. You know, I said, well, because he said, with all due respect, a policeman and his wife, I'm not going to do much for you, you know. And we thought, well, why not? You know, we didn't know. And he said, well, let me ask about. He says, I'm sure there'll be someone who could be interested. Anyway, we were in the studio recording one day, and Chas Chandler came in the studio, and where I was situated with my drums, the control room window was there, and I recognised Chas, and I was mouthing to the other, Chas Chandler. And they were like that. And that's the guy who found Jimi. Anyway, sort of after whatever we were doing, went up to the control room. And he introduced himself and blah, 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 things like that. He didn't really say a lot at that time, but he said, well, we'll arrange a meeting. Anyway, sort of, it must have been a week or so later, you know, sort of thing. And we thought, God, Chas Chandler. And he came to watch us, you know, she's the guy who found Jimi Hendrix, you know, and I was bloody hell. We thought, what's happening, you know, sort of thing. You know, so still 4 young kids who didn't really know. Anyway, about a week or so later, the agency that were here, you know, the policeman and his lady said, this Chas Chandler's called, you know, because we gave him their number, obviously. Yes. He's called, he wants you to go to London to have a meeting. I said, oh, okay. So we drove that in our old van again, you know, to the back of the old van. And we pulled down, I remember it was Brook Street, a really sort of posh thing, and you know, sort of all you could see was like Rolls Royces and Bentleys and Jaguars, you know. We put our old van on a parking meter, and we went to this office, like incredible office, and we sat in reception, and there was a receptionist and things like that, you know, and we were just in order where we were sitting, you know, and then we saw Maurice Gibb from the Bee Gees came through. We go, like, you know, what are these people? Anyway, we got called into the office, and Chas was in partnership with them with another guy called John Gunnell, and he you know, Chas, they were really good. They said they would like to. They couldn't understand how Jack Baverstock, how he'd given an unknown band time in the studio. You know, so it was unheard of.
Yes.
You know, we didn't know anything about this. You know, it was unheard of that they would give you time in the studio to make an album. You know, so they were explaining about the record company. He said, the company that he's head of is basically finished. You know, it's not really happening. He said, well, we don't know. No. And he said, well, we're going to try. We would like to manage you. We were like, what, you know, sort of thing, and this and that, you know, and what, none of us had a telephone. We still lived with our parents, of course. None of us had a telephone in those days. You know, we used to, if we had to meet the next day, we said, okay, see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock or whatever, and that'll be it. Yes. And then I always remember John Gunn said, we'll have a telephone. This is like it's like a revelation to us all, this kind of telephone in one of your houses. And we decided it was going to be put in Jim Lee's house.
Yes.
And then John Gunnell said, do they have telephones in Wolverhampton? We laughed, but we were a bit hurt, you know, but we laughed. But, anyway, so that's what they did. And Chaz decided he wanted to, they said, we'll sort out Fontana Records. And then what happens, we found out later, they bought our contract from Fontana Records.
Okay.
They bought the contract that we had. It probably wasn't worth anything, but apparently Jack Baverstock, the head of Fontana, said he would sell the contract. He said, but I'm putting this album out on Fontana Records.
Yeah, okay.
He said, I've paid for the sessions and things like that, so I'm putting it, this album will come out on Fontana, which they couldn't do anything about, really.
Oh.
And
so it went out.
yeah, and that was it. I mean, Chas said we can't do anything about it. He's paid for the sessions, you know, so he basically wants to get his money back, you know.
But Chas was working for you.
Yes.
He was trying to promote you.
Yes, he was trying to get. He wanted to take us away from Fontana and take us to Polydor, things like that, which we found out later on. And they released. Fontana released. They call it Beginnings, the album. Yes. And of course it didn't do anything, you know, sort of thing. But anyway, Chaz, what they did, they found out later. Chaz told us many years later they bought the contract, you know, from Fontana, paid off. It wouldn't be a lot because we weren't known, and we weren't successful in anything. It wasn't like they could make money.
But the story about Chas Chandler trying to make you famous, yes, and trying to make you skinhead, yes. Yes,
well, I remember
those days in 69 or 70. Yes.
Well, what it was, I mean, because like Jim was the only one that had a phone because they put the phone in Jim's house, you know. And then then he came one day, we were playing a pub or something somewhere, and he said, they want to see us in the office in whatever day, sort of thing. We would drive down, so and we drove down in our van, and we all had pretty long hair then, like hippie type clothes, from what it was at the time. And he said, well, the thing is, he says, you're looking like everybody else, which we were. Yes. He says, and I've been, the skinhead thing had just started. He said, we think you should become skinheads, and we like feel a bit horrified here, you know. So I'm now our hair shaved off, you know, a bit on, and he was like this, and he said, we can get you everything then, you know. He says you're going to really be famous, you know. Of course, no, well, yeah. Anyway, he says, tell you what, go out to a cafe, have something to eat, a sandwiches, make your minds up between you them, you know. And we went out, and we thought we should do it. He said, because we thought if we didn't do it, he wouldn't want to manage us anymore. Oh, yes, and we thought that, well, now we've found someone who knows the business. I mean, he's had one of the biggest acts in the world with Jimi Hendrix, you know, even with the Animals, they were so big. Anyway, I said, yeah, okay. He says, good, he said, I've already got the hairdresser booked. He got it all ready. He said, and we're going to a shop to get you like the skinhead jeans and the shirts and the other things like that. And so, yeah, and that's what we had done. And it was very difficult at the start, and no one wanted to book us. No. Because they've been having their venues smashed up by skinheads. They said the last thing we wanted to see was a skinhead band drawing skinheads, you know. So we had very few and far between bookings after that, you know.
So 69 were out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just, we had a few things, but like I said, people were very apprehensive about booking us because of having their places smashed up, you know. And it wasn't even as if we were playing skinhead music. No. You know, we were a bit of a con, really, and it was just an image to sort of get us noticed, which Chaz and, you know, his partner wanted to do, you know, and that was working. But like I said, no bookings because nobody, they would take a chance. No. And we made the album, go Play It Loud, the first album. Yes. You know, and it did nothing. No. You know, it was on Polydor, it did nothing. But sort of.
But you had the red cover.
Sorry?
It's with the red cover, isn't it?
Slade Alive.
Yes, no, that's Slade Alive.
Slade Alive. Yeah. Well, that's when we had a great reputation for live gigs. Yes. And that's when Chaz said, I think we should do a live album.
Yes.
You know, so that sounds good. You know, so, and he said, I know this recording studio in London, which is also a theatre, where they do like live broadcasts, you know. So it only holds about 250 people. He said, but we can, you know, he said we can doctor, you know, to get the question. And we invited, well, it was, you know, sort of, it was an invited crowd basically. You know, sort of, it was put out in the papers, you know, Slade. Slade were making a live album, an audience needed, you know, that kind of, please, for free, come along. And what the idea was to record 3 nights or 3 days, and take the bits out of each day to put, you know, to make put a compilation, you know, put it together. And the actual album is actually the second night. It's all the second night, and I'll tell you what, you know, sort of that album of all the albums is still the most popular.
Yes, it's quite a good album. It's got such good energy in it.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like of all the albums we've made since then, people always mention Slade Alive.
Yes.
That's always the first album they say, Slade Alive.
Yes.
And it was great for us. I mean, we were getting. We started to grow a little bit out of the skinhead thing, you know. We thought, well, we're getting a bit of a name now. We can do not what we want, but you know, we're a bit freer. And, and so we started slowly to grow out of it. But I mean, it was an opening for us. It was incredible, Kim. I mean, sort of like we were selling places out. You know, I mean, like universities. Then we were playing colleges, universities. We were selling places out, and they were turning people away. And we were getting a great reputation as a live act, and for pulling crowds and things like that. You know, and is that the one with you made a quite good John B. Sebastian cover? Yeah, Darling Be Home Soon. People always that's the same as people always mention that one. Yeah,
yes, it's incredibly good.
Yeah, and no, it was, but that was just our stage show at the time.
Yes,
you know, and it was just a great idea of Chaz's to do it. It worked.
Yes,
it worked, because that's we were known as a live act, and that just sealed everything. Really, it just, you know, made everything great. I mean, we were selling out, you know, when I say selling out, I mean places like ballrooms, maybe 1,000 people, which is still a lot.
That's quite a crowd.
On people queuing up round the block, you know, to get in. And
that's quite a crowd.
It was great. I mean, because he'd been with the Animals, you know, he understood, and with Hendrix, of course, you know, and things like that. And I mean, while I remember this, one of Chaz's things, he was great at working little angles out. And you know, Hendrix's first American tour was supporting the Monkees.
Yes, I know that.
Can you imagine? And Chaz said, he said, because like there's the mothers and young kids coming to see the Monkees, and then Hendrix comes on. He said, he got kicked off the tour, but that's what Chaz wanted, you know, like the publicity and things like that. But I mean, and it was great. I mean, so everything was going really good for us, Kim. And then
you made Get Down and Get With
It. Yes, I was just coming to that. What it was, we hadn't written any song that Chaz thought was suitable for a single. He said, but he says, Get Down and Get With It has always been the last song in our stage show for many years before that, you know, because how that came about, the places we were playing around Wolverhampton, it was the same disc jockey. He always finished the show with Get Down and Get With It, Little Richard. And the place used to get up and he'd be like really going when he played, and thought, God, we'll learn that song for stage, and it worked exactly the same for us. We can only do it last, and the place used to erupt when we played it. And then that's when Chaz said, "That's going to be a single." You know, that's going to be a single, and then the same thing again, you know, sort of thing.
It took you to the top of the pops, didn't it?
Yes. Well, how that came about was, in those days you had to be in the top 30 to get on top of the pops. And it was working great. We were moving the charts. I think it went into 45 or something like that. Then moved up to 39, and then 37 or something like that. And then it went to 32. And we thought next week we'll be in the top 30. We get on top of the pops. The next week it was still 32. I thought, no, it's going to go down now. But the following week it was 29.
Oh.
So we were on top of the pops.
Yes.
And that's when it moved up, you know, to number 16.
Yes.
Eventually moved up to number 16.
Yes.
And Chas said, "You're there now."
Yes.
He said, "Now I want you to write your own songs."
Yes.
Now you've got to start writing your own songs.
Yes, I was curious because about that. Because you were writing what you've done, but you were on that with Jim Jim and Leah, but no, Noddy and Leah. But who decides who to write the song?
Well, actually, what you're right there. That came what we did. Jim and myself were writing first, and Dot and Dave.
Yes.
You know, and then I don't know what happened. Nod and Jim got together one day, wrote, and the first song they did was "Because I Love You."
Yes. And
that was it. That was the writing formula work then. That's it. Give it to Nod and Jim. They've got the writing formula now, you know, sort of thing. And that's how we carried on.
Yes.
You know, but that's right when I said we got get in and get with it, and that's when Chas says, "Now write your own songs."
Yes.
No, you're in there now.
Yes.
Now write your own songs.
Just like the Beatles.
Yeah, that kind of thing. You know, that's what Chas was doing. He was taking a carbon thing of the Beatles and trying to do it with us. You know, to try and do the same kind of thing. And then Nod and Jim wrote "Because I Love You" because Noddy Holmes was a big fan of Django Reinhardt and Stephen Duprell, so he liked you know, that kind of thing. You know, and that's how that came about.
Yes. But "Because I Love You" and "Look What You've Done" is a bit of junk band style, you know, just like Love and Spoonful or Uncle Jerry.
That's it.
Yes, and when you see those two songs from 1971, yes, and then in 72 you completely changed style.
Yeah, I don't know how that came about really. I mean,
take it back home.
Take it back home, yeah.
It's quite a rough thing.
Yeah. I mean, but if I remember right though, Kim, I think at that time I should remember Nod and Jim hadn't got that many songs. We were starting to work a lot then.
Yes.
You know, universities and places like that, you know, sort of thing. And the sort of, kind of with Mama We're All Crazy now.
That was later.
Yeah, that was 70, that was still 72.
Yes.
But that's when Chas said, you know, you got to start writing your own songs. And like I said, Nod and Jim have got the formula, the two of them. And I'd already started the song "Look What You Done."
Yes.
I'd done the lyrics to that, and that was quite a nice hit as well. But it was a lot different to "Because I Love You."
Yes, it's a lot different.
And Chas liked the idea, you know, sort of thing. And you know that Slade Live was doing so well.
Yes,
it was incredible. How even today, you know.
Yes, but then you changed. With "Take Me Back Home," you changed your style.
Yeah.
Yes, and you became from you know, kind of a rock and roll band to a glam band.
Yeah. Well, that was what we fell into that thing, you know. Sort of, it used to get worse and more flamboyant, especially with Dave Hill.
Yes.
If I told you he was colourblind, would that make sense? but he got more and more sort of thing. But yeah, that was it. And I'll tell you what, our very first tour was that 71 or 72? Was with Status Quo in a UK tour. Because the promoter Mel Bush, he wanted to make us a concert tour with us. He said, "I think another group that's up and coming is Status Quo. And I think the two of you together, it would be a fantastic package for a tour, you know." And we've been friends ever since.
Yes, we ripped the place apart.
It was a fantastic, a great tour that was. And also Chas's idea, he says, it's the first tour, let's not go silly. And we made the tickets 50 pence each.
Yes.
Which is like less than half a krone or whatever it is, you know. But like consequently, all the venues were sold out. And that's what Chas wanted.
Yes.
We got 50p for God's sake, you know. But it was all sold out, and it was a great tour that was. And
how were you how were you living in the hotels in the first tours? On your website, you've written down all the venues all over the country, and I'm quite amazed. You made around 200 shows a year.
Yeah, incredible.
Yes,
we never stopped.
No,
you know,
you didn't. But I think I was wondering how were you booked in? How were the hotels?
Well, a lot of the time we drove back home. we were so, you know, we wouldn't, you know, we would, well, if you can go home, we'll go home.
Yes.
Yeah, even if it was a 5-hour drive, we would go home,
Okay.
you know. So, and then we had 2 roadies then.
Yes.
And so now just one at the start, and then we got, you know, and so we used to drive home and then just start off again the next day. And then it got to the point, well, it was actually Chas again. He said, this is ridiculous, driving halfway through the night. He said, why don't you stay in a hotel? That, you know, sort of, yeah, so that actually might be right. And it was great then when we started to stay in a hotel. That means, you know, we didn't have so far to travel, you know, it made, we weren't tired, you know, sort of thing. And it was a different thing, but it was great. That's when we decided to do that. And yeah, and we because of the strength of the singles, and Slade Live being so, you know, big, you know, yes. We started to do quite a big venues then.
Yes. When you made Slade,
yeah.
You know, the album from '72, you made the big times, didn't you?
Yeah.
There was Slade and Mama We All Crazy Now.
Yeah, that's
Goodbye
it.
to Jane.
Yeah, that's
and then
it.
You were then you really made it.
What happens with well, when Notting Jim played us Mama We All Crazy, I thought that's fantastic. It was a great live song.
Yes.
And Chas said that's got to be the next single. That has to be the next single. And then we recorded it and it worked. And he went. I remember the first week of release, it went to number 2, and it was with number 2. The first week we went straight to number 2.
Yes.
And then the next week it was number 1, you know, but that was the start then, you know, that really became the start of it, all the, you know, the sort of the momentum going and all that kind of, then we were starting to do shows in different European territories then, you know, sort of thing, yeah.
Went abroad.
Sorry?
Yeah, with Slade,
yeah,
we went abroad.
Yeah, we were going like Holland, Germany, all over Europe, Scandinavia, we're doing that, and the same thing, and we were just on a roller coaster. It just gone fantastic for us, you know. And like I said, Chas wanted to do this thing about sort of trying to make our career in the same kind of thing as the Beatles, you know. And he says the next record after Mama All Crazy, he says, I want to get into the charts at number 1. First I want to get it into the charts.
Yes.
I want to get it there at number 1, like the Beatles did.
Yes.
I said, how would you do that? And he said, well, he was a big. He had a great sort of rapport with the head of Polydor. We were on Polydor Records then. A guy named John Fruin, and they worked out a plan. You know, because I know from experience, you know, sometimes when you go to a shop and you ask for a record, if they haven't got it, you'll get something else. Yes. You won't bother with that record. And their plan was for the next release, just to make sure all the records are in all the shops. So if they go in for the record, it's there.
Yes.
Because a lot of the policies then in those days, maybe the record shops would get the record maybe a week later. Yes. You know, something like that. But Chas and John, for the head of Polydor, worked out that the records will be there in the shops the day of release. Because also Top of the Pops, which was the show at the time in England, that was on Thursday nights.
Yes.
And they used to make sure that the record was released on the next day on the Friday. Yes.
So you'll be in the week.
Yeah, and then they'd have the charts would come out on the Tuesday, so there'll be Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Monday 3-day sales for the charts, and we got Top of the Pops the first on the Thursday, as Mama All Crazy Now was coming out on the Friday, the next day on the Friday. And then on the Tuesday, because like Jim was the only one that still had a phone then, we still didn't have phones then. And Jim says, when we picked us up to go wherever we were playing, it's number 2. What? It's gone in at number 2. He said, it's obviously going to be number 1 next week, you know. And that was it then, that set the precedence then. And Chas made sure that him and John Fruin made sure that when we planned a release, they would get the records in the shops.
Yes, but I'm wondering who made the call at what would go out as a single. Nowadays when I listen to your album, there are probably 7 or 8 numbers that could have made a decent single.
But that was Chas again. You know, he said he said again, copying the Beatles. He said, if you listen to a Beatle album, any song could be a single. Yes. And that's what he wanted. He said, you've got to write singles, not album tracks. Write every song as if it would be a single. And that's how that came about, you know, sort of thing. And it worked, you know, sort of thing. The albums are selling fantastic, you know, sort of thing. And And as I said, like I said, his plan then was to get a record,
yes.
#1 the first air release, you know.
Then I have this question, you know, for me you've always been a guy's band.
Yeah.
Yes. Were there many groupies around, you know?
Not really, well in England not so much then, but like I said, we're a guy's band, you know, I mean, so the girls didn't really bother with us, you know, I mean, the newspapers called us ugly, you know, so the working class yobs or something like that, you know, they're not like Rod Stewart in the Faces, or they're not like people like that.
T-Rex or something.
That's it, exactly. You know, so they're all ugly. You know, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what it was then. I mean, there was the young teeny bop girls as it was at the time, you know, but we were basically a guys band.
Yes, you were.
You know, yeah.
I should have seen you in Denmark in '73. You know, I was such a huge Slade fan, and I wanted to go to see you in I think it was in Forum. In Copenhagen, and your reputation had somehow hit my father, so I weren't allowed.
That's it. Well,
I was 14. He said, "You can't go."
That's what happened with my wife Hannah. Yeah. When we played, I was at Aarhus. I think it was when we played. I remember we did 2 shows in Denmark. It must have been '73. It was Aarhus and Copenhagen.
Yes.
And Hannah was a big fan, but she couldn't go. Her and her friends. They didn't have they obviously didn't drive then, so that. Hannah's mother said, "I will drive you if you buy my ticket."
Yes.
You know, if you buy me, I will drive you. Yeah, they did that. They put the money together and bought Hannah's mom ticket. But what Hannah's mother originally was a hearing and speech therapist.
Yes.
Right, and what she did, because she was frightened about the volume, so she put chewing gum in all their ears. They told me this story after, you know, sort of thing. And strangely enough, that Hannah still has it. She's still got it. I threw a drumstick out.
Yes.
And Hannah got it.
Oh.
Yeah, and she still has it.
Oh. Yeah. How nice.
Yeah, and that's how we first met. When she would mention that, that's how we first started talking. You know, but it just got crazy. I mean, we were like touring. You know, like non-stop, which was fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it was fantastic. You know,
but how did you manage the pressure? I can see in magazines and television and radio and touring and recording.
It was a revelation to us, though, Kim. I mean, but the thing was, we had the 4 of us. We were such good friends.
Yes.
That we used to have a really good time together on the road or doing whatever, you know. So we were just taking it all in our stride, you know, because we had each other, you know, to pull on, sort of thing, you know. So it was always a great time, you know, sort of thing.
There were never any when I did the research for this one, and over the years I've been reading about you and listening to your music. There never seems to be any scandals following you.
No, we couldn't. We were useless. Chas tried to do that. Yeah. You know, he said, "Oh, I want to get a bit of an image, you know, sort of get something like not, you know, sort of like Rolling Stone." But we're not that type. We're so down to earth. You know, we could. And what he did, you know, to try and do it, we were skinheads at the time. He booked us into a big hotel in London for us to cause a commotion to get kicked out.
Yes.
So we could get some press, get like TV press or news or yes. We were useless. I mean, we couldn't do it. We tried everything. We tried making a noise, the TVs up loud, sending stuff down the elevators, but they knew what we were trying to do. And he made the newspapers, but I mean, it was mad because it wasn't us. They actually showed us out the back door.
Yes.
Yeah, they took us out. They knew what we were trying to do, you know, and they took us out the back door, you know. But
you were making quite a commotion. Your concerts were quite wild.
Oh yeah, it was incredible.
The crowds, you know, went wild.
It was incredible. I mean, it was just phenomenal. You know, sort of. So that's, like I said, that's where the song "Mama We're All Crazy Now" comes back. You know, because how mad it was, chaotic it became at concerts. You know,
but during your high life, you know, when you were at the peak in '73, did you move to London or did you stay put in Wolverhampton?
No, we're still in Wolverhampton.
Yes.
Yeah, still in Wolverhampton. I mean, sort of living with our parents, you know, sort of thing. I remember going to my sister's house the one day, and all of a sudden I made a bad mistake of going there just before I came out of school.
Yes.
Yeah, of course they saw my car there, and they knew it, and there was like crowds of young girls outside my sister's house. Oh no, because you don't think of those kind of things.
No.
You never think you're going to be like that, you know. But no, it's you know, it's lovely memories, lovely memories.
But did your dreams change when you got you know, got fame and fortune? Did your values change, or did they stay put?
Stay put. I mean, everybody Chaz always just say, I don't know what to do with you lot. I mean, you just want to get back home every time. You never want to stay out, and you always share rooms in hotels. You won't have a room each, you know. So we're not used to that, you know. We'll never spend any money, or we wouldn't. We weren't that type of person, you know. It was still the working class thing, you know, sort of thing. I mean, it was great. I mean, that's what we were, you know, sort of thing. I mean, we would just still use the bus, you know, and go somewhere or whatever, you know, sort of thing. It wasn't intentional. It was just the way we were. You know, we didn't change, but why should we change? I mean, I used to go to the local cafe. I used to go to this cafe in a big store in Wolverhampton. I always used to go there every day. If I went to Wolverhampton, I used to go into the cafe in this hometown, you know, have a chat to the little old ladies in there, you know. Sort of, yes, have you bought all your clothes from London? Where have you been? Anywhere exciting? No. But it was great when we started to travel. I mean, that was incredible, especially, you know, I mean, I always say, and I'll still say it now, Kim, you know, what a fantastic life I've had, being able to travel the world like I have and see places I just only dream about what you see on TV, especially over the last sort of 20 years or 20 odd years, where I've gone to places like Russia, you know, on places like that. When would I ever get a chance to go to Russia, or why would I want to go to Russia, you know?
But when you were at the height of your careers in '73, you had an accident.
Yes. It's very. Well, I can talk about it. I mean, it's okay because I don't remember it.
No,
you know, I don't remember it. And it was on the way from Wolverhampton town centre. I lived just on the outskirts of Wolverhampton, an apartment there. And it was on the road to there, and it still means nothing. When I still lived there, it was the entrance to a school, and I took all the entrance out.
Yes.
I've got no idea.
No, so you got injured.
Yeah, badly. I was unconscious. She died. But I mean, I was almost dead apparently. I mean, sort of, because I went through. I think we must have both got through the window.
Yes.
And what had happened was, I found out later. These two nurses happened to be coming by, going on duty. Yes. More or less, it must have been when the accident just happened. I think it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and apparently my girlfriend was already dead, but the nurses managed to keep me alive. Yes. I was in a bad way myself, apparently. All my head was split open. Yes. And the one nurse went in, banged on a door, local door, to call 9, you know, the emergency number, and there happened to be an ambulance lit about 200 metres away, dealing with a pregnancy. Yes. So he was there straight away. And you know, it's only been about 15 years ago I managed to speak to one of the nurses. Yes. Because I always used to say, you know, I'd love to say, they saved my life. I said, I'm member to the authorities at the hospital. I said, I would like to say thank you to these two ladies. No. They were doing the jobs, and we're not telling you. Okay. Anyway, I did like an interview like we're talking now, Kim, and this guy said, would you give me the permission to find out these nurses? I said, if you can do that, it'd be fantastic. Anyway, I spoke to the one. Yes. Because he wanted to do a story with her as well, right? Yes. And I spoke to the one, and it was the one that was holding my head together, and he said, unbelievable, you know, unbelievable. He said, it was just pure luck. You know, pure coincidence that they come to drive by on the ambulance round the corner. Yes. And she wouldn't do an interview, which I'm glad in a way, because then the girl's father who died sees something. Here we go again. There's something else in the paper, you know. But you know, I mean, it was nice to speak to her. You know, it was great to speak to her. And I said, oh, after all these years, I just wanted to say thank you. Yes, you know, I just wanted to say thank you. And so, well, he said, we've been following your career. And I said, it's nice to see that you've done so well.
Yes,
And she said, but no, I'm not going to do an interview. And I said, thank you.
Yes.
I didn't want to do it either.
No.
You know, but it was just nice after all that time
Just
to say
thanks.
thank you.
Yes,
Just said
of
that
course.
was it.
So then you had a hold in '73. You were the biggest thing alive in England. You couldn't get any bigger than Slade in England in '73. You couldn't. You couldn't.
Phenomenal.
And partially way through '74 as well.
Yeah.
And you made one of my favorite albums from that area, Old New Borrowed and Blue.
Oh, that's my favourite album.
Yeah, yes.
That's my favourite
I
album.
got some amazing tracks on it.
Yeah, that's my favourite album. That is actually
Yes.
Kim. That was the same again. We Noddy and Jim got the songs, because when we used to record him, we never laboured over the song.
No.
If it didn't work after 2, maybe 3 takes, we would leave it.
Yes.
Go on to something else and then maybe come back to that later on, you know. Because I know from experience, after about at least 3 takes, then you start to lose it, you know.
Yes,
So
yes,
it gets a bit, you know,
no.
and that was our policy. If it didn't work after 2 or 3 takes, we'd go on to something else.
Something I really
And
wanted.
that was about to say, that album went down so quickly.
Yes.
You know, because we all had there's a great atmosphere in the band as well, you know, so because of the success that was happening, and we felt great, you know, so, and it was done pretty quickly actually, Kim, though.
I still wondered, how could you not make Do Still Do It as a single?
I don't know.
It's such an amazing track.
Well, yeah, the thing is like then
It's
you
such a drive.
Yeah, it's sort of, then you're in the hands of like Chaz, our record producer, and the record company, you know, that with the certain things that we wanted out, you know, that they said, no, that's not going to, the record say no. And then, but we thought, well, they're the bosses, they're the ones who's got to promote it and do it, you know, they want them to be happy, you know, so there was so many things sometimes, and whereas like, we all, maybe all the 4 of us had a different idea of what we would like as a single.
Yes, okay.
But then Chas said, well, that, you know, she's mad because she's causing a bit of sort of...
so Chas had a big say.
Yes, he said, no, him and with John Froome, the head of the Polydor, they would, you know, decide, you know, sort of thing, you know. And I remember when, after Mom We're All Crazy went to #1, and that's when Chas said, right, and the next one has got to go to #1 the first day.
Goodbye to Jane, yes.
Yeah, and that was Come On Feel the Noise. Oh
no, Goodbye to Jane came from Slade.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. That's
yes,
yeah, that's
that was
right.
72.
And
Come On Feel the Noise was 73.
yeah, but that was the song actually that Dave and myself we heard that the first day in the studio, because like Chas says we've got like an hour left. He said to Nodden, do you have anything? You know, we've got an hour left. Might as well use the hour. Yes. And there sort of we said we've got this one sort of unfinished, which is Goodbye to Jane.
Yes.
Yeah, because at that time it was Goodbye to.
No, it was Come On Feel the Noise.
Was that after Mama?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that went. I tell you, went down straight away.
Yes. But and then you were so in 70, just to stay put in 73 for a while, in 74 you were so big that you put out singles and that didn't appear on your albums.
That's right.
Just like, but that wasn't common in those days. It
no,
was just the Beatles and maybe the Stones who could do that sort of thing.
That's what Chas. That was the same. He said the Beatles never released a single off an album.
No,
it said the single was separate. You know,
yes.
that was his policy. That was him. That was Chas.
You made Come On Feel the Noise, you made Squeeze Me Please Me, that were on albums.
That was, yeah.
But then in 74 I went to see Slade in Flame.
Okay.
It was quite a dark movie.
Yes.
I was used to all the posters I had on my wall when I was a kid or teenager. Yeah. You were always happy and smiling, and it was such, you know, good time pictures. And then I went to see the movie, and I was quite stunned.
Yeah, I think we made a mistake there. But what had happened is the company Good Time Productions, who made the movie Slade in Flame, they made That'll Be the Day and Stardust. That's the same company.
Yes.
And they approached us. They wanted to make a movie with an actual band, and. Richard Longcrane, who directed the movie, and Andrew Bergen, who wrote the script, they didn't know much about the music business, so they travelled with us on an American tour. They came with us on a 4-week American tour, just for Andrew, the scriptwriter, to get stories.
Yes.
All the stories within the film are actually true.
Yes.
Of maybe bands before,
Yes,
things
yes,
like
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
And Richard, they didn't know the business, and when we were making the film, we didn't realise, you know. But after we saw the finished thing, and we said, "Do you think we've made a mistake?" Yeah, and I'll tell you how what sealed that. As at the premiere, Kim, there's actually there was the producer of Top of the Pops at the time, and a guy named Robbie Nash. At the party afterwards, he's talking to me and Jim. He said, "I really admire what you've done." He said, "But do you think the kids want to see that?" He said, do you think the kids want to see the downside of the music business, if you like?" And we were defending the film like that, but he was right. He was right. Like what you were saying.
Yes, it was quite a surprise.
Yes, it was. And I tell you what, and it did go against us.
Yes, because when I was a kid, I would like to see just like the Beatles, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So I would like to see my band, you know,
exactly.
happy.
That's exactly what happened. Yes. I mean, it had great reviews from
it did.
From the TV critics, you know, the film critics on TV, but for that reason, you know, sort of thing, it did go against us, and we realised after that it was not the right thing to do. That particular theme, you know, with a movie, it did go against us, you know, because people, you know, especially in those days when we saw like the young band and the young kids that follow us, they couldn't like quite differentiate, you know, like between us. They thought it was Slade in the movie.
Yes.
They didn't. They couldn't differentiate that we were playing characters, and it wasn't Slade. You know, but they wanted to see Slade.
Yes, I used to have I had a difficult time to separate.
Yeah, and that was the general consensus all along, Kim.
Yes.
It was a general thing that, and we always say after. We loved it, and we're glad we did that, but we made a mistake.
Yes. We have to just for a short while. I have to stay in '73. You know, in '73, I bought "Merry Christmas, Everybody." I bought it in November.
Okay.
Yes, and I played it every year ever since. It can't be Christmas without it.
No, it's amazing.
But what I wanted to ask you is it on purpose? You know, '73 in England had been a hard year.
Yes. It was not good.
No, it wasn't good.
Not good.
I'll come back to that in a moment. But was it on purpose? You were writing about the past. You know, the past were a good time, and then you just skip the present.
I think that maybe just coincides, I think.
Then you go into the future. The future
maybe,
has to be better.
Maybe actually you have to ask Nod that question because he wrote the lyrics. An interesting point though. But I remember it was Jim Lee's mother-in-law who said, we had all that, she said to Jim, "What you want to do is write a Christmas record." And you went, I wonder. And he had this melody from a few years before. And it happened, and him and Nard, they used to write on the road when we were touring. And we were on an American tour. And we had a week off in New York before we went to Australia and Japan. And no, Australia. And Chas said, "We have a week. Do you have anything?" And you know, this was in the summer of '73. And when I played it, he said, "Well, we always have this thing about a Christmas record. Just let me hear it." You know, and he played. Said, "We've got to get in the studio and record it. We've got to go and do it." You know. Anyway, so we had that week off, and Chaz booked a record plant in New York, and we went in and did it. And because Dev myself didn't really know the song either, and it was just a total overdone. Not Jim knew it, you know. And I put the drums on. I couldn't quite remember it. And if you listen very hard to the record, you'll just hear one drum beat at the end where I forgot to stop.
Okay.
But you got to listen very hard. I always said to me, just listen. You've got to listen. You're thinking about it, just but I forgot to stop. But and I tell you what, Kim, when we did it, I mean, the Americans didn't understand it. It wasn't their kind of thing. They didn't understand the lyrics. And you know, Kim, we didn't want to release it.
You didn't?
No, it was in the summer. It was a heat wave of 100 degrees in New York, right? Yes. Anyway, so we weren't sure. We thought, not really sure. I don't know. We don't know. You know. And I remember Chas said, "I don't care what you lot say. This is coming out."
But you smashed the charts.
Well, it did. I got a gold record the first day release.
Yes,
It just went ballistic. It just went mad. We'd already had.
We'd already had charts into January.
Sorry. Yeah.
It was,
it was fun. Even now,
yes.
you know. I mean, sort of. It was just phenomenal. It just went ballistic. It just went mad. And they had to go. Apparently, Polydor had to go to different factories to keep up. You know, record company factories to keep up the demand for the singles. And that was a few times. I remember on tour that year, '73, on our Christmas tour. It was #1 in the charts at the time. And I can't remember which town I was in. But I was in the elevator of the hotel going down to reception. Quite busy the lift wasn't. He was playing in the lift, right? He was playing in the elevator, just standing there. So, and there's a guy in front of me. He didn't see me. So I'm so bloody fed up with this record. It's great. And there was another time I was in the supermarket and it was playing. I was at the desk to pay for my groceries. And he was playing in the system, and the young girl on the thing was just singing at the top of her voice, and I'm standing there waiting. She looks up, she goes, "Oh no!" It's quite funny sometimes when you see that, isn't it?
And then in England in '73 during the oil crisis.
Oh, it was bad.
Yes,
yeah, there was a shortage of fuel. You're only allowed so many litres a week, you know, and things like that.
And I've read that the power, they had to turn off the power at 9 or 10 o'clock.
That's it, and you can only heat one room of your house, you know. It was
but how did you keep up playing like when we were in a rock and roll band playing at night?
It was okay. I mean, we were on tour at the time, and it was okay. We managed, you know. I think there were certain restrictions of when we went on stage because of the cutting the power off and things like that, you know. So it was. We couldn't actually go on tour properly until towards the end of the year when that had finished, but I never thought I'd see that. It was unbelievable. No. We only allowed, I think it was about 4 litres of fuel a week, you know, sort of thing, you know, and it was unbelievable. And I remember a friend in America saying they were watching the national news in the state, New York, and they were talking about the state of the country in England, you know, about the fuel shortage and blah blah blah, things like that. So the only thing that seems to be happening in England is this, and they played our record.
So from being on the top of the world, and all in a sudden you went to America to, you know, to make a breakthrough in America, which didn't happen.
No.
And then you came back and nobody remembered.
No, it basically had to start all over again.
Yes. How did you feel, you know, to come back?
Well, the thing is, we still enjoyed playing together. You know, we still loved that, you know, working together and playing. You know, because we'd been doing it from so many years, from school and things like that. We had to go back to playing small places.
Yes.
But we still loved playing. We still wanted to play. You know, and I mean, a lot of bands, especially people like Quo, said we could never have done that. You know, we couldn't have done that. You know? But we still wanted to play, you know. So, and we were just sort of playing tiny places, you know, sort of things with no people, basically. You know, we spent all that time. We'd have made a bad mistake of spending too much time out the country in the States trying to crack America.
Yes.
And of course, we, you know, our popularity or our, you know, people, you know, that moved on somewhere else, you know, sort of thing, to somewhere else. And but we still enjoyed working, and we still thought we had something to offer. So we, like I said, we just carried on playing, and small places, whatever. And then like the breakthrough came again when we were offered the Reading Festival.
Yes.
And do you want to carry on from there, Kim?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, what happened? We haven't played for a long time. It's been a few months since we actually done anything. And Chas came on the phone saying, "Listen, the festival, the Reading Festival, has been going for many years, a long time. The Reading Festival,
it's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry?
It's a big thing.
Yes, really. And he said, how do you feel about playing that? And I remember saying, oh, no, it's actually Nod who called me. He said, listen, we've been offered the Reading. I said, what? I said, we haven't played together for ages. He said, I know. He said, what do you think? I said, well, when is it? It was about a week later, so I think. I said, well, what do we do? So we just, you know, what about Dave and Jim? He said, Dave doesn't really want to do it.
No.
You know.
Why didn't he want it?
I think he felt he'd had enough.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yes.
anyway, sort of, we got married. So, Chas said, he says, you've got nothing to lose. He said, you've got nothing to lose. He said, if you want to go out, if you want to break up after this, go out on a high. Do one of those, that festival.
Yes.
And then we said, okay. And then we just rehearsed. We used to rehearse in this village hall back home. So we just rehearsed for a couple of hours each day, you know. I mean, we only had a short set, a 30-minute set or something like that.
Yes.
I can't remember, maybe long, I don't know. But anyway, we rehearsed it and we had nothing to lose. We didn't ever have any passes. When we got there, we had to go with the punters.
Yes.
Going with the punters with our guitars and cases, you know. Everyone was saying, what are you doing here? So we played. We're on in a minute. And we're going through, and nobody could believe we're walking through. And when we got backstage and all that kind of thing. And I remember the big DJ in England at the time was a guy named Tommy Vance.
Yes.
And he's always been behind us, and he says you're going to steal the show. And we said, what do you mean, Tom? He said, well, you've got the songs.
Yes, you do.
He says, you've got the songs.
Yes.
And that's the first time I heard that, and I thought, actually, it's a good point, that,
Yes.
you know. He said, you've got the songs, and he said, you're going to steal the show. But the thing is, I think really what that came in.
And rock and roll were coming back in those.
Sorry?
And rock and roll were coming back in
in
81.
And also having a good time on stage, you know, like there'd be a lot of the bands up there with their heads down and playing away, you know, no communication, you know. And anyway, we went on, and the place, it was being recorded by the BBC as well, you see, for broadcast on the BBC. And it just went ballistic.
Yes, it did.
I remember looking on the side of the stage, and other people on the side of the stage was like, they were just smiling.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, you see, everybody was smiling,
Yes.
you know, and when we finished, and the place just erupted, and sort of like, it was just, I mean, afterwards, you could always tell us, your dressing room is full with everybody drinking your drinks, all the other bands and the technicians who were great job drinking your booze.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but no, but Tommy Van said, I told you you would do it, you know, and he was right, and that sorry, what I meant to say was, Tim, because the BBC recorded for the festival was going to be broadcast, we bought the tapes off them.
Yes.
And we did release like a live EP. Do you know what the EP is?
Yes.
We released a
single with 4 numbers.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
We released a live EP and it charted.
Yes.
And we went back in the charts, and that was it. It was the start again. You know.
Then you went down again, and then you've made My Oh My.
Yeah, but then we did Castle Donington after another big festival. Was it a year later or 2 years later? And the same happened again.
Yes.
It just went ballistic. You know, we just went, you know, couldn't do any wrong.
No.
And you started again, and then we were with RCA then.
You shifted company.
Yeah, we came with RCA, and they'd had a few record releases which didn't particularly do anything, and they wanted us to use a record producer.
Yes.
I said, but they're basically saying, we're giving you a last chance.
What happened to Chas?
Well, he pulled out some time before. He said, because he said, well, you're not listening to me anymore.
Okay.
You said, you're doing your own thing now. I'm going to stop producing you. You carry on your own. But RCA weren't happy with the things that we were giving them. And they wanted us to use a record producer.
Okay. You
know, somebody with discipline. We said, well, we don't know anybody. And we said, well, you know, if you're interested, we'll find out. And they went to the company Air Studios in London, and a guy named John Punter, we didn't know, and he took us into a fantastic Air Studio, which is like going to the NASA space station. This place, you know, and incredible. And it was owned by George Martin, who did the Beatles, and 2 of the top producers at the time. And of course, it's incredible, the studio. But expensive, but apparently Paul McCartney has it booked 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year in advance, just in case he wants to go in. And apparently his office called the week before saying, it's all right, you can let it go, Paul's not coming in next week, you know. But he has it booked just in case. But I'm just going from the story, we were in there the one time, and we were sitting in the cafe part, and Mark Knopfler came in. He'd been working with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney asked him to work on guitar, and we just talked to him. We asked him what he was doing. He said, I'm working with Paul McCartney. He said, he's absolutely incredible in the studio. He said he's so focused.
Paul is.
Yeah,
yes.
everything.
Yes.
He's so focused. It's just incredible,
yes.
you know. But anyway, that was it. And they wanted to produce. And they said this guy, John Punter, who with Air Studios, they have this company, and they had a few record producers on their books,
yes.
and John was one of them.
Yes.
And so he took us into Air Studios, which was fantastic, and that's when we recorded My Oh My and Run Runaway.
Yes.
And
which made it very big in England.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, My Oh My just missed number 1. It got to
yes.
number 2. It was there for a few weeks.
I can't remember. I can't imagine how it couldn't go to number 1.
Well, it was one of those records. Only You by the Flying Pickets. It's almost occasionally these records. These
yes.
And you can't move them.
No.
They will stay there forever,
yes.
you know, so it doesn't matter who it is. And we got to number 2 and we just could not move it.
No.
It's like certain records, it's like some like these comedy records or whatever.
Yes. Yes, of course,
you can't move them.
No,
yeah,
no.
the whole world buys them, you know, so you can't move them. But yeah, and
I bought a couple of years back. I bought these encyclopedias with all the singles and album charts from England from 1960 to 1979.
Okay.
And when you look at some years, you can see it's the Sound of Music. That's number 1.
I know.
And it's just
amazing. I know. It's incredible. And like this one, this Flying Pick is like Only You, you know. So we could not. There's no way we could move it. You know, everybody said My Oh My should have been number 1, but that record, yes. But there you go. And then around then, and then after that was Run Runaway.
Yes.
Another big hit for us. But then we got offers, you know, our accountant's office looked after Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy.
Yes.
You know, and apparently Sharon was interested in trying to get us a deal in America.
Yes,
you know,
went back again.
Yeah, and we were a bit wary because we thought because of what happened the years before.
Yes.
You know, with nothing, you know. But MTV had just started.
Yes.
We'd made this video for Run Runaway at the castle,
yes.
everything, and Sharon got us this incredible deal with CBS in America, and then with the MTV,
yes.
and the video was on all the time,
yes.
you know, on MTV, and the people thought that's where we lived.
Yes.
They thought that castle was where we lived. Yeah. But then it started, because of MTV, it started to move up the charts.
Yes.
And then we got offered, Sharon said, well, Ozzy's going on tour. It'd be great if you open for Ozzy.
Yes.
It'd be big crowds and a big tour. But that's when Jim went down with hepatitis.
Oh.
You know, and we did a couple of warm-up shows beforehand, and then we started with Ozzy in was it Reno or San Francisco, somewhere like that. But Jim was really ill, and the doctors advised him not to. But what happened was, at CBS, who were signed with them, as Sharon did for us, got us these big TV shows in New York, and they said, would you be prepared to stay over? We'll put you in a hotel in Los Angeles. We've got so much press and promotion for you to do. You'll spend a week doing TV, you know, press, whatever. Are you prepared to do? We said yes. And Jim just relaxed in his room, you know, things like that, you know. But yeah, but I mean, because of MTV, that's and we had a great record company behind us. That's why we had the first hits in the States, you know. But, you know. But because then Jim was so ill with hepatitis, you know, and that was it basically.
So you just then you finally split up after 30 years.
Yeah.
Yes, in 92.
Well, the thing is like I think that you know that saying that knocked the wind out of our sails. Well,
yes.
that bit with the stage with Jim. I mean, it's not his fault, but he went down.
No.
And but then there was nothing much happening after that. And Noddy Holder, sorry, do you want someone?
Oh yes, please.
Yeah. Noddy Holder had been offered a few TV things, you know, acting and that kind of thing, and he says he wanted to go on to do things like that because he didn't see any particular future with the band. You know, he thought we'd done what we'd done, and we couldn't go any further.
No.
And we all we were fine. You know, that was it, and we basically finished then. You know, sort of thing. Yes. You know, and
but after then you've been in a rock and roll band for 30 years. what did you do?
Well, my wife then, I was married to, she was an antique dealer.
Yes.
And so I went into helping with her, you know, sort of thing, you know, yeah. Went into, it's quite interesting, but it, you know, sort of, you always got that in the back of your mind. I'm a drummer, really. Yes. I'm a drummer, really. But and then sort of 91, Jimmy got this song, Radio Wall of Sound.
Yes.
And yeah, and the record company really liked it, and so we promoted that. It just about went into the top 20 in England. And but that was it really. We were all doing different things then, and like that. And so yeah, it was the end then really.
Yes. You played for a number of years with Dave Hill.
Yes, we did good. Actually, it's quite good actually, because we did quite a few shows in Russia.
Yes.
A lot of the Eastern Bloc, you know,
yes.
which we could never go to in the 70s for obvious reasons.
Yes.
And that was interesting. I remember, in fact, actually, I do remember it's about 73. The original band, we were booked to do a TV show in East Berlin.
Yes. And
we flew into West Berlin. It took about 3 hours to get through the Russian sector, the American sector. We're only there for the day to do this TV show. I remember standing in the TV studio just watching what was going on. It was like a big family type show that was going on. Yeah. And this guy came up to me from the TV studio, started shouting at me in German. I said, I don't know what you're saying. And he started pushing me, and he pushed me out to the TV studio. So I called the guy over who was looking after. I said, I've obviously done something wrong. He said, can you ask him what's happened? And anyway, they spoke. I was chewing gum. It was a bad influence from the West. So I went, but yeah. But I mean, no, but the thing is, I mean, people say, don't you miss it? I said, listen, I've had like over 30 years. I said, I've had the most fantastic career. And I said, well, when Dave and myself went back on there, I said, listen, I've been around the world 4 times. I said, I haven't seen that much. I said, airports, hotels and concerts, yeah. Yes. But I said, come on, I've been around there. I've had a fantastic, all the success that we had, you know. And it's been fantastic. And at one time, when I was touring with Dave and we were going to East Berlin, I took Andreas, you know, the youngest son with us, you know, and just gave him the experience, you know, to things like that, you know. I've always said to my wife, and I've always said, I'd love to go around the world again to see the places I've been to. Oh, yes, of course. Just to have a look, you know, sort of thing.
How did it actually look?
Sorry?
Yeah, how did it actually look?
Yeah, yeah, what was it like there? Yes. That kind of thing. I mean, I remember when we did Poland in 78 or something like that, we went around Auschwitz, you know.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Strange.
Yes.
Strange. I'll never understand it. I will never understand. You know. And also the thing is, I think it's all in denial, Kim, because like apparently he was found by accident. So no one ever saw the smoke. No one ever saw the trains going in. You know, the people we didn't know it was there.
Was it there? Oh, strange. So, Dave. You and Dave don't play together anymore. No. They fired you, or how was it?
Well, what it was is sort of like, because I snapped a tendon in both my legs. I was going to a concert, and then he decided to find someone else, and he didn't want me anymore. This is a guy I've been in a band with since 1963.
Yes,
and I mean, I've got to be quite open and honest with you, Tim. I will never speak to him again. He hasn't given me a reason why he doesn't want me in the band anymore.
That's odd.
And I will never speak to him again, and I will never be in the same room as him ever again. You know.
That's an odd ending for.
I've got no idea.
No.
Maybe I have to speak to him.
Yes.
But but I'll tell you what, Tim. It's almost Kim. It's almost like a weight's been lifted from my shoulders, and I've had so much fun recording with Danish musicians and different people in England as well, and it's been good, and I've had a great time, and Hannah, my wife's helped me a lot. She, sort of say to kick my arse and say, get up. You know very well you love playing drums.
Yes.
We'll find. Go. You've had quite a few offers from people in Denmark to play drums for them, and there was the one which is fantastic. Is when Slade was still touring with Dave Hill, and we're playing here in Denmark. I think wherever. Aarhus, I think. Anyway, a theatre producer from Herning
Yes.
came to the show, and he wanted to speak to me, so I went back and, you know, and he said, I'm a theatre producer, I'm doing a version of Oliver Twist with Slade music.
Yes.
And I thought, what? and I said, actually, I live in Silverwater. You what? I said, yeah. And I said, I'd love to come and see it. He was still in production stages then. And I couldn't believe what he'd done, Kim.
Was it good?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, Oliver Twist, the story as we know, but if you remember, like, the girl's name in the real Oliver was Nancy, but he changed it to Jane so he could use Goodbye to Jane.
Oh.
But he had the cast in the Oliver Twist costumes, you know, as we know it.
Yes.
But he had the band in a platform at the back in 70s gear in the glam rocket. He used Get Down and Get With It. It was Goodbye to Jane for Jane.
My friend Stan.
How Does It Feel? A few of the same songs, and I couldn't believe what he'd done. It was great because I went to quite a few of the shows.
Yes. And
he invited schools to come and see it, and a lot of the kids don't know who Slade is, you know, but they were just so really impressed with the music. You know, and I thought that was quite interesting. Just young kids who've got no idea who Slade is, or the material. No. And it was great. And I said to him the one time, I said, Michael, who's the director, I says, I'd love to play in the band.
Yes.
Yeah. He said, would you? I said, yeah. I thought I'd play for the week in the band. You know, so it was great. It was good. No, he did a great job because I wanted to take it to London, the show.
Yes.
You know, but I think at that particular, I still think it would work because, like I said, it's just to me it's so original.
Yes,
it's so original. But I have to find a company that maybe would take it up. You know,
yes, but there've been many musicals in London. By smaller bands than Slade, you know. Yeah. Some years back there were Small Faces.
That's right. Yeah. And
made a musical.
Of course, there's the Queen one. We Will Rock You.
Yes.
You know, and things like that. You know. But I still think it could work because it's so original. It's so original, and
it's a good story. And it's good
great.
Music.
It's great, and like I said, who would have ever thought it? Because I remember when he spoke to me, we did this concert, and he wanted to meet me to say hello. Yeah. So I think, who is this? You know, so I went back and it's Michael Helmut. His father and grandfather were big producers in Denmark from years ago.
Oh, I don't.
And anyway, sort of, and my wife and her mum knows her there. And anyway, so that's when he said to me, and I remember saying to him, "Are you mad?" Are you mad? Because I know the Oliver Twist story, but I thought, I can't imagine Slade music to that, you know. And I said, "Are you mad?" And he was laughing. And I said, and that's when I explained to him, I live in Silverwater. He says, "What?" You know.
Yes, but you can change the tempo and you can change
everything. But I mean, just the story the way it is, and like I said, there's the cast in the normal, you know, Oliver T, and the band at the back in 70s gear, you know, and. But I went to quite a few of the shows, and a lot of people said obviously wouldn't know the Slade music, you know. And they said, and they all said the same thing. Got great music to the things, you know. Yeah, that's it. And it's you know, it's nice, and like I said, I would love to take it further, but but there we go.
The only thing I've come to the end of my questions.
Okay. Yes. It's been. I've enjoyed this.
So have I.
Thank you.
The only thing I have left is I've got to you know, to somehow cut it up because I want to play some Slade music. Within. And when I turn off the camera, we can talk about
what to choose.
What to choose, and if you have any particular wishes.
I think I'll leave that to you. I mean, the thing is, it's hard for me to sort of. Make a decision because it's such a big catalogue, and I think I suppose the only thing you can do, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, is use the hits really. I mean, the things that people want to or expect to hear, if you like, you know, maybe they come on, feel the noises, Merry Christmas, you know.
Yes. I'll play some of the hits, but I do think I'll put some of the odd stuff in between.
Well, great, you know, it would be interesting that because a lot of people don't know that stuff. They hear it, you know. So I remember once I was listening to the radio and I thought, God, that sounds good. It was us. It was an album back on the shit.
So Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
For letting me talk to you.
I've really enjoyed it, Kim.
So did I.
Fantastic, really. I'd like to do it again sometime. You know.
Oh, we can do it again.
Anytime, please contact me.
I will do that. I have an idea for another show.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so now just turn off.
Yeah.